Reeser. I'm with the League of Women Voters of Metropolitan Columbus. Welcome to this Meet the Candidates Forum for Franklin County and Linden area candidates. We hope that this will provide you with information for the upcoming November election. Please make sure you have a voting plan for November 8th. Early in-person voting started yesterday, October 12th, at the Franklin County Board of Elections office on Morse Road. You can also vote by mail. To do that, you must submit a written absentee ballot request form to the Board of Elections. Election day is Tuesday, November 8th, and you can verify your polling location by also contacting the Franklin County Board of Elections. In addition to candidate forums, the League of Women Voters publishes a voter guide in which candidates provide written answers to questions. Our voter guide is currently available online at vote411.org. The voter guide lists all candidates running for election in Franklin County. The League of Women Voters is dedicated to expanding public awareness about government issues and encouraging active participation in government. The League does not support or oppose political parties or candidates. Please visit our website to learn more about the League and to become a member. Now I'm going to turn this event over to tonight's moderator, Cheryl Roller, who is the current president of the League of Women Voters of Metropolitan Columbus.
Thank you, Elizabeth. Welcome to this Meet the Candidates Forum. The races participating in tonight's event are the Ohio House District 3, the Franklin County Commissioners race, and the Ohio Court of Appeals races for District 10. Based on state and national League of Women Voters rules for candidate forums, both candidates in a two-party race must be present for the race to participate in the candidates forums. The Franklin County Auditor's race and the Ohio Senate District 25 race were also invited to participate in tonight's forums. However, while forum organizers had positive answers from Bill DeBora and Auditor Stinziano, the Republican challengers Chandler Wysocki and Jared Golden were not responsive to the attempts to contact them. The Franklin County Common Pleas Court race consisting of Judge Julie Lynch versus Jessica Barwell were also invited. Judge Lynch responded affirmatively, but Ms. Barwell declined the invitation. I will begin by explaining our procedures, which were agreed to by all participants in advance. Tonight, each candidate will get a 1-minute introductory statement. You'll get to speak for 1 minute. I will then ask questions, and the candidates will be permitted no more than 2 minutes to answer each question. The exceptions will be judicial candidates who will have 1 minute to answer each question. Each candidate will have the opportunity to answer the question, and then I will change order in which candidates are asked the question for each subsequent question. And then candidates will have 1 minute to give your closing statement. Some of the questions have been pre-written and the remainder will be solicited from the audience. Audience members who wish to ask a question must submit the question in writing to Elizabeth. League volunteers will review the questions before handing it to me, the moderator. The League reserves the right to reject audience questions if they are inappropriate or duplicative. The candidates are able to see our timekeeper, who is Jean Marie. And she will indicate when the speaker has 30 minutes or 30 seconds remaining and when their time has expired. If a candidate continues speaking, I will say thank you and move on. So our first forum tonight will begin with candidates running for the Ohio Court of Appeals race, District 10, commencing on January 1st, 2023. And we have tonight with us Kristen Boggs and Laura Nesbitt. Ms. Nesbitt, you have the honor of speaking first with a 1-minute introduction.
Thank you. Thank you all for coming, and thank you for those who are listening online and streaming and will listen later. It's really important to be here, I felt, because I understand how important it is for the message to get out to the voting public about who is on your ballot And it's a very rare opportunity that the public really gets to hear and listen to candidates. So I'm here tonight and I'm humbly asking for your vote for the 10th District Court of Appeals, which is all of Franklin County. So if you're in Franklin County, you can check the box for me. I am currently a practicing attorney. I've been practicing in the Franklin County trial courts, municipal and common pleas for the past 14 years. I've handled civil and criminal cases, family law, states and trust. I've handled federal bankruptcy cases. So I feel like I have a very well-rounded experience in the trial courts. And I feel like that's very important for somebody who's seeking an opportunity to judge the cases that will be coming up into the 10th District Court of Appeals. Not only am I familiar with trial courts, but administrative hearings as well, and that's really what the job entails. So thank you for having me today.
Thank you, Ms. Nesbitt. Ms. Fox, your 1-minute introductory statement.
Sure. Good evening, everyone. I am Kristen Boggs. I am a candidate for the 10th District Court of Appeals. I am currently the state representative for Ohio's 18th House District. I consider myself a lifelong public servant. I have 22 years of legal, policy, and leadership experience, starting with after I graduated from college, going into AmeriCorps and during service projects across the West Coast. I spent another year teaching before I went to law school, and then when I graduated from law school, I ended up in the Ohio Attorney General's office for about 10 years before I went to the legislature. When I was at the AG's office, I served most of my time in the Court of Claims section. I argued multiple cases in the 10th District Court of Appeals through my work in the Court of Claims. I am really excited to be here this evening so that you can learn more about us, and I will humbly ask for your support in November.
Thank you, Ms. Fox. You get the first shot at the first question.
Okay.
What do you see as the biggest problem or challenge with the State Court of Appeals, and how do you propose to change it?
I believe that the biggest challenge right now is actually a conversation that is happening in the legislature about what is the appropriate district lines for the Court of Appeals and how we are going to allocate cases across the state to the Court of Appeals. The 10th District Court is so important. It is very well positioned to be a direct line from the Court of Claims, which is where all state claims goes. And we hear also a lot of the state agency claims. Unfortunately, though, because that creates such an amount of power within one jurisdiction, there is this consideration about spreading those cases across the state to different districts that, quite frankly, don't have the capacity, have not developed the technology to handle that kind of caseload, and don't have the ability to ensure that we then have consistent rulings before we would go up to the Supreme Court for appeal. So that would be what I would say is one of the largest challenges coming forward related to district courts.
Thank you. Ms. Nesbitt, same question. What do you see as the biggest problem or challenge with the State Court of Appeals, and how do you propose to change it?
Thank you. Well, first of all, what is in my power to change? I would seek to change, but I also understand the role of a judge in the Court of Appeals is to judge the cases in the law. So certainly wouldn't step outside of my role as a judge to do something that really is a legislative place for someone else to be doing. That being said, I think timeliness of opinions from the court, and I also think that ensuring that the court has a fair balance and is not making a political decision, but really making their decisions based on what the law says in the case. So empathy from a judge is important as far as hearing the parties and listening to the parties and understanding the parties, but it really doesn't come into a decision just because you like one more than the other. It's really about following the law. And so I think that the challenge always is to ensure that our judges and our justices in our Ohio court system are following their role in ensuring that the law is followed. And so I think that will always be a challenge, and it's always the most important challenge to make sure that we are overcoming in the courts. Thank you very much.
Thank you. And you get the first shot at the next
Okay,
question.
very good.
What skills and experience make an appeals court judge best able to review a lower court judge's decisions?
Yes, thank you. Very important question, very timely question. So first and foremost, appellate court judges do not generally decide cases de novo. There's very rare instances, there are state agency cases where they're coming in on first impression, But a lot of times they're deciding municipal court decisions and common pleas court decisions. It's a very voluminous court below the appellate court in the 10th district. And so they are reviewing the records, the docket, the decisions the judge made to allow evidence in or not in. And so those are things that are something that the judge would have to understand. Understand how to read, understand how to write, and understand how to follow the law. That's what I do all day. I research, I read, and I write. That's my job right now. And I am a person that loves to learn new things, to gain knowledge, and to really dig my teeth into cases and make sure things are correct. If there is error, the court should overturn it. If there is not error, the court should let the decision stand, and that's what the role of the court, and that is something that I would do in the court. Thank you.
Thank you. And Ms. Boggs, the same question. What skills and experience make an appeals court judge best able to review a lower court judge's decision?
Well, I think one of the most interesting things about the 10th District Court is the wide impact it has because of it's situated in Franklin County and does review all of these state agency and state court issues. Understanding what the broad impact is of those decisions and how that impact then becomes the precedent throughout this state is incredibly important. I think my experience in the Court of Claims representing Ohio state agencies and state universities across the state, and my experience in the legislature really puts me in a good position to understand that yes, we have these 10th District Court decisions, but how does that impact the rest of the state when those rest of the state has to follow the precedent that is set by the 10th District?
All right, thank you. And you get the first shot at closing statements. So 1 minute for your closing statement, please.
Great. Well, appreciate everyone tuning in this evening and being here with us tonight. When I ran for the legislature, I took an oath that I would uphold the Constitution of our state. And having come from the Attorney General's office, I held our judiciary in the highest regard. I held our Constitution in the highest regard. And when I took that oath, to me it meant that I would not consider legislation, I would not support legislation that fell outside the boundaries of our Constitution, that took rights away from our citizens, that was flagrantly in violation of our Constitution. I cannot tell you the number of times I have been on the floor of the House and I have hit the no button because I've been voting against legislation that just runs roughshod over our Constitution and over our rights. And my immediate thought is, I hope the courts get this right. I hope this courts fix this for the state. That is why I'm running for the 10th District Court of Appeals. That is why I'm asking for your support in November.
Thank you, Ms. Boggs. Ms. Nesbitt, your closing statement, please.
Thank you. And yes, again, thank you all for being here. I asked for your vote, and I'm asking for your vote because I am not a politician. I'm simply an attorney who wants the law to be decided correctly. And I feel like the skills that I've gained over the past 14 years in practicing in the trial courts and municipal courts that will come up through the 10th District Court of Appeals have given me the understanding of the background of the judges, the attorneys who practice in those courts, and how those decisions are intricately being made, to really be able to understand the record of what has happened in that lower court. So without any regard for party lines, although our legislature has put into place on this year's ballot who is what on the ballot, I hope that the voters that are here tonight listening in and all of those voting do have that voter plan. That is the most important thing, is that you know who you're voting for, you know what that means, and that you do show up and vote on November 8th, regardless of your vote. So thank you so much for coming to listen. It means a lot to us, and I appreciate your time.
All right, thank you. Thank you, Ms. Boggs and Ms. Nesbitt, and that's it for the first set of candidates for the Ohio Court of Appeals. Okay, next up we have Carly Edelstein and Keith McGrath. All right, thank you. Now we're going to hear from the candidates running for the Ohio Court of Appeals race, District 10, commencing on January 3rd, 2023. Our candidates are Carly Edelstein and Keith McGrath. Ms. Edelstein, you get to begin with your one minute introduction, please.
Thank you so much. Thank you to everybody who's here today. We've already been out at early voting for the past 2 days, and the number of people who come up to us and say, we can't find information about judicial candidates, how do we make this choice? So thank you for hosting this evening. I'll be brief. My name is Carly Edelstein, of course running for the Court of Appeals. I'm a former teacher, a former civil rights attorney, and I'm now a public defender at the Ohio Public Defender's Office. I worked first for the Federal Court of Appeals, the Sixth Circuit Court of Appeals, which covers Michigan, Ohio, Kentucky, and Tennessee. I've written decisions on behalf of a judge of that court that govern the law in those states. I then worked at the U.S. Department of Education's Office for Civil Rights, enforcing our nation's anti-discrimination laws in schools, and I'm now a supervising attorney at the State Public Defender's Office. Every day I practice in the courts of appeals all over the state and in the Ohio Supreme Court. I have quite a bit of experience in those places, and I humbly ask for your support on November 8th. Thank you.
Okay, thank you. Judge McGrath, same thing, 1 minute introduction, please.
Thank you. And I want to apologize if my voice sounds scratchy. I feel like I'm fighting a cold coming on. I do have a mint in my mouth. My name is Keith McGrath. I am a judge on the 10th District Court of Appeals. The question might be, what does the 10th District Court of Appeals do? We review cases from trial courts. So we don't have people come in and give us evidence as far as witnesses on the stand, but we review what the judges do, make sure that they've applied the law correctly and they've done it fairly to all individuals involved. I have been a trial attorney in juvenile courts, in domestic courts, in municipal courts, in felony court. I've done jury trials and hearings from your lowest criminal cases up to your highest front page news type cases. I worked for 29 years as an attorney before I got the opportunity to become a judge. And now as a judge, I'm actually sitting on the Court of Appeals doing the job. I'm hearing the cases and writing decisions. On November 8th, I hope you consider me for the 10th District Court of Appeals. Thank you. Sorry.
Thank you. And Judge McGrath, you get the first question.
Yes.
What are the qualities and experience that make you the best candidate for this office?
Thank you. Well, I'm going to go back to, I've been an attorney for, I graduated from Ohio State University in 1992. So I've been an attorney and working since then, so almost 30 years. 29 years I spent in the court system itself, the trial courts that the 10th District Court of Appeals hears from. And with that experience, I've made the arguments in court to judges through the motion hearings and through jury trials. Now, for the past 8 months, 6 months, I've been a judge on the Court of Appeals. I'm actually hearing the cases themselves. So that experience that I bring forth, that experience I think is important. Who do you want as a judge that's judging what other judges have done? And it's somebody with that courtroom experience that's going to be helpful. Thank you.
All right, thank you. Same question for you, Ms. Edelstein.
Thank you.
What are the qualities and experience that make you the best candidate for this office?
Certainly. And I have a breadth of experience both on the civil side of things, the administrative law side of things, including Social Security disability denial cases, and also on the criminal side of things. I have spent the bulk of my legal career working in our courts of appeals all over the state. I have worked at this level. I understand the ways in which a judge, a panel of judges reviews a case, applies the law to a set of facts in a given case. My job as an appellate public defender is to review the facts below, to take a look at the record, which is exactly what a Court of Appeals judge does, and apply the law to that case. I feel very competent in doing that, and I humbly ask for your support in understanding that as well. Thank you.
Thank you. And you get the next question first. What are your goals for the State Court of Appeals if elected?
Certainly. I think timeliness of decisions is one very important goal. As an attorney representing folks in our courts of appeals all over the state, I have seen my clients, I have seen the victims on the other side of a case wait around for upwards of a year sometimes to get a decision from a court. I don't want to see that happen. I think for all parties involved, it is absolutely important that our cases are resolved quickly, but also fairly and appropriately. And so as a judge on this court, I will work as hard as possible to make that happen for folks who appear in this court. Thank you.
All right, thank you. And now to closing remarks.
Oh,
Judge McGrath, you get to go first.
He actually didn't get to answer the
Oh,
last question.
I'm sorry. Thank you for catching
Short.
that. So, same question. What are your goals for the State Court of Appeals if elected?
Well, thank you. Well, I am a judge on the Court of Appeals, so my goals right now are, I'm going to echo what Ms. Edelstein said. Timeliness is very important for a judge when they're hearing cases. But the other thing that I'd like to have done in the courtroom is to give everybody a full and fair opportunity to appear in front of us and make their arguments in this case. They've gone through a trial. They've gone through a hearing. The attorneys have done everything that they could in the trial courts. Now they come up to the appellate courts. We are very, I don't want to say lenient, but we give people an opportunity, whether they're pro se or represented by an attorneys, to come to us and make those arguments. And now, when I have that case, the reading, the writing, the decision needs to take time, but needs to be done in a timely manner. So that's has been my goal right now on the Court of Appeals. Thank you.
All right. Thank you, Judge McGrath. And now you're the first one to get to offer your closing sentence.
It's tough in a minute to describe to people who you are. I am a veteran of the Coast Guard. I served my country. I was able to go to law school here at Ohio State. I worked in this community for over 25 years, helping to protect the citizens as both a city prosecutor and a county prosecutor. I worked in a civil law firm in Washington, D.C., and did complex civil litigation, even being able to work on federal court appeals cases, federal court district court cases, and I've had the opportunity to work on the U.S. Supreme Court briefs, 3 different cases. I am a member of the Bar of the United States Supreme Court and have been for the past 22 years. I think my experience of working in the court system for 30 years as an attorney is what's important when we're looking at judging other judges. Thank you.
Thank you. And now, Ms. Edelstein, your closing remarks.
Thank you. My entire legal career, I have worked on behalf of folks who can't afford a lawyer in a system that absolutely requires quality representation. It absolutely requires that someone have the ability to have their voice heard by the judges they're appearing in front of, and have their voice heard by the attorneys who are representing them. I have played that role for my clients in our trial courts here, in our courts of appeals, in the Ohio Supreme Court, in federal court, and in the United States Supreme Court as well. I feel very competent in my ability to do that, and I want to bring the compassion that comes from representing people whose voices are often silenced by our system to our Court of Appeals here in Franklin County. I feel very privileged to have been endorsed by a number of religious organizations, civil rights organizations, and labor organizations, and also to have received the 5-star rating from the Columbus Bar Association. And again, I do ask for your support, but regardless of who you vote for, I'm just really grateful that you are all here and learning about the candidates for the Court of Appeals. So thank you.
All right. Thank you to both of you, our candidates for the Ohio Court of Appeals Race District 10, commencing January 3rd, 2023, Carly Edelstein and Judge Keith McGrath.
Thank you
both. Next up will be our candidates for the Franklin County Commissioner.
If anyone has any questions they would like to submit.
Closing is 1 minute. Yes, everybody is 1 and 1 for the opening and closing. The schedule gets a little out of whack when some of the other candidates drop out. This is why it's a little bit of a gap between what you thought was the time.
Okay.
All right, so now we are ready to hear from the candidates running for the Franklin County Commissioner. We have Erica Crawley and Louise Gill. And Mr. Gill, you get to begin with a 1-minute introduction of yourself.
Thank you so much. Well, thank you everyone for coming in tonight. Thank you to the League of Women's Voters to hosting this. My name is Luis Gill. I'm running for Franklin County Commissioner. I am originally from Venezuela. I have been here for many years, came at a young age, and I have done so many things that I would like to express the gratitude for this county, for the city, and I would like to make a difference somehow that we need to make changes. Look around. We are in Linden right now, and the thing getting here, it is the fact that you see county roads, you see county highways that perhaps need some attention. And I would like to make a difference because I have been walking as we speak for the last 2 or 3 years with leaders of the community. They're asking for help. They're asking, please tell us that you can do something for us because currently nothing is happening. Thank you so much for coming.
All right, thank you. Commissioner Crawley, you're next with your one-minute introduction of yourself.
Absolutely. Well, thank you to the League of Women Voters for hosting this forum tonight. I am absolutely glad to be here to share all the things that we're doing at the county to make sure that everyone has the same opportunities to thrive and not just survive. So I am your Franklin County Commissioner. I've been in this role for about 15 months. I was appointed when my predecessor, Marilyn Brown, retired, effective immediately. I came from the legislature. I'm a mother, I'm a veteran, and an advocate. My public service career started at the age of 19 when I enlisted in the Navy. And then went on to advocate on behalf of children and families in the nonprofit sector, making sure that they have access to childcare or their childcare centers could get a credit on a national level, or advocating for our youth that was in the foster care system who have been abused and neglected. My work at the county has been about access to childcare, jobs, and supporting small businesses. And I look forward to answering your questions and telling you about all the great work we're doing at the county. Thank you.
All right, thank you. You can stay standing up because you get the first question.
All right.
In your perspective, what are the essential duties of the county commissioner?
So the essential duties of the county commissioner, we are the fiduciary and the appropriating arm of the county. So we are responsible for managing about a $2 billion budget. We approve budgets for 35 agencies across the county, whether they are other elected offices, the Common Police Court, Domestic Juvenile Relations Court. We run an animal shelter as well. So under the Board of Commissioners, there's also 14 agencies directly under us. But we are the largest social safety net of the county. So we are the ones that make sure that we have access to services through Job and Family Services, our Office on Aging, Child Support, and making sure that our nonprofits have access to resources, as they're usually the ones on the ground in the community doing the work for the people. So that is the responsibility of a county commissioner, and I serve with 2 other individuals.
All right, thank you. Mr. Gill, same question. In your perspective, what are the essential duties of the county commissioner?
The essential duties of county commissioners, as she stated, but there's more to it. We need to make sure that all the communities are served. We have communities that are flourishing, and then we have communities that have been neglected or left behind. I currently speak to each one of them. I spoke to them today as we was coming in, and they told me, you can quote me, Linden, Southland, Southfield, Marion Franklin. They have been neglected for so long, and they are asking for help. They're coming to us, and especially coming to me, to say, Mr. Gill, we need to make a difference now because it's not working. The fiduciary responsibility, sure, that is okay. But we have a situation that was in the Columbus Dispatch recently this week, where the county commissioners and the city officials negotiated the rent for this sport complex. It costs hundreds of millions of dollars. And you know how much they charge for rent? $10 a year. And guess what? They did not collect the money for the last 2 years. The average person does not understand the situation that happens on behalf of the county commissioner to represent the community. Sorry.
Thank you. And you get the first shot at the next question. What areas in the Franklin County budget would you cut or expand?
Well, we need to retool all those programs that she mentioned. There's a program that has been there for so long that they keep throwing money in it. We need to make sure that, the addiction, the drug addiction that we have, the mental situation, the aspiring, into an empty hole because there's no way to recuperate. One of the things that we need to do is perhaps invest more in early child education. That will solve so many problems that we have in the community currently. These kids in the community south of 70, they don't see any other things but housing, impoverishment. They see things that perhaps they don't know how to dream again, and we need to plant the seed for them. We have Intel coming in, an incredible technology company, science, It's one of the things that they, invest on. What are we teaching those kids in our school, south of 70? We're teaching things that perhaps they will never have a path into getting to those jobs. We need to create those programs and invest more, and that's the part that I will focus on because of the fact that those kids will be the future of this county.
Thank you. Commissioner Crawley, same question. What areas in the Franklin County budget would you cut or expand?
Thank you so much for the question. Let me just say first, it's important to understand the county and what we're responsible for. So I know it's easy to talk about a article that was in the Dispatch about the Columbus Crew. Franklin County owns the Columbus Clippers. We own this team and we own the field. We are not responsible for collecting rent for the Columbus Crew. So I just want to make that clear. But what I would expand is, my opponent talked about early childhood education. I created the initiative Franklin County Rise, which is a historic $24 million investment in child care in 3 areas. Historic, never been done in another county across the country. It launched in March. It provided 750 scholarships for families who were on that benefits cliff. So if you make more than 142% of the federal poverty level, so you don't make enough for publicly funded child care, but you make a little bit too much to pay for it out of pocket, you can get up to $10,000. To help with child care expenses. The second component of Franklin County Rise is 6 incentives for child care providers to keep their doors open, and especially in areas where we need to serve those non-traditional hours, so 6 p.m. to 6 a.m. and on the weekends, because everyone doesn't work a regular 9 to 5. And then the third component of Franklin County Rise is supporting our teachers. Our teachers on average in the state of Ohio make about $12.22 an hour, and a lot of them are on assistance themselves. 68% of that workforce are women of color. And because we cannot pay increased wages for our teachers, we have made sure that $500,000 in rent and utility assistance is available to them. My opponent talked about Intel. We have 6 workforce development programs. A lot of people know about Building Futures and Driving Futures. Building Futures is our flagship workforce development program, working with the building trades, 17 trades that individuals can get in that go right directly into the middle class. So as we build Intel, the people who are coming out of our Building Futures program will be building Intel. Tech Women of Color, it is a $4.5 million investment for women 200 women of color to get into the tech field. So when Intel is built, they will be able to have access to those jobs.
Thank you. Commissioner Crawley, you get the next question. How would you address the issue of affordable and inclusive housing in Franklin County?
Thank you for that question. So one thing about the county that I'm very proud of is in 2019-2020, the county made a commitment to build 2,000 affordable housing units by 2030. We are 3 years into that, or almost 3 years into that, and we have already exceeded that goal. We have, with the help of our Magnet Fund, which is gap financing for developers who want to build affordable housing projects here, who have been approved for that 4% LIHTC, low income housing tax credit, so they can get gap financing. This year we have 11 applications that has us be able to meet the goal of 2,217 units. But we know that we are about 60,000 units short of the housing stock that we need. So it will take us being innovative in how we make sure that, one, we're building more units, but then we have developers who are diverse just like our community. And so we have invested $5 million in the Emerging Developers Accelerator Program with the Affordable Housing Trust, which we have, our conveyance fee goes to the Affordable Housing Trust so that we can have more developers who have already developed units, maybe 2 or 4 units, but want to be able to do larger scale units. We have invested in that program. So that's how we at the county, using equity as our landscape and our lens, have more affordable housing and inclusive housing. It's not just about who has access to that housing, but it's also who has access to capital and can enter the market and be able to build that those houses. Usually the investors that we see on the south side or off of Parsons and Southern Orchard who are taking advantage of older residents that live in that area are investors who do not look like me. But we know that there are developers emerging who look like me, who want to be able to compete just like every other investor and build affordable housing units, and we want to make sure that they have access to capital. So not only are we investing in a program, but we are also making sure that funds are available for development.
Thank you. Mr. Gill, same question. How would you address the issue of affordable and inclusive housing in Franklin County?
Thank you so much for the questions, and great. It just happened to happen that the mayor just threw up, maybe 2 or 3 weeks ago, $200 million into affordable housing. What a timing before election time. You know, this kind of stuff that should be studied, given to the civic associations, people that manage their own communities, and perhaps include them on the table so they can make better decisions. You know how many empty lots are in Southfield, Marion, Franklin? Why do we need to change the landscape of all the cities when there's so much money needed in the south of 70? So they're willing to say, you know, instead of building those complexes with tax abatements that they give them just like, you know, like candy every week. So the county commissioner have situations where they need to bring, you know, get more attention into those communities that desperately need it. They are calling me. I talked to them today, talked to them yesterday. I said, Gil, you can quote me. Sheila Eubanks, chair of the Southfield. So you know what? I'm tired of this. We need to change the situation. I want to bring balance. I want to bring transparency. I've been working those communities for the last 3 years. And I tell you what, they invite me. Lyndon, Rolf Carter, he said, call me on this. I want you to be part of this because we need you on the next level. I'm just simply asking you, we need transparency, we need balance in the county. One of the things, it's not easy to talk about the paper. It's on the front page. How's that easy? We need to make sure that the average person, the average taxpayer, doesn't get this. I would like to pay $10 for my mortgage. That would be amazing if we do that time. It's not easy to comprehend the situation when the millionaires get whatever they can out of our tax money. You know, I call that welfare for millionaires. Guess what happens? We need to make sure that those people, it's not only that.
You can finish your sentence.
Okay, it's not only that. 3 years ago, they gave $150 million, county commission money, to the owners of the crew. No oversight. Thank you.
Okay, thank you.
Mhm.
Elizabeth, do we have some questions from the audience?
We do. I think maybe we have time for about 3 questions.
All right. Okay, let's see. You answered that one, so you'll get the first shot at this one.
Okay.
Okay. What are your ideas about mass transit for Franklin County and how would you fund these?
Well, you know, we got Intel coming. It's going to be a massive. City of Columbus is on the eye of the world for Intel. Guess what happened when you arrive to Columbus? What do you see? Perhaps we need to hire scientists from NASA to help us pick up the trash and clean the streets. But, you know, that's just a little bit of a funny statement right there. The fact of the matter is not happening right now. What do we need to do? We need to get together. We need to create unity. I will bring leaders of those communities and sit at the table with us. What do you need? Let's create. You know, one of the things I saw, I was not invited to the creation of a new jail. Okay? I don't think it's happy times when we have a brand new jail. Guess what? What are we going to fill in with that? Human beings that they need to have a break. One of the things we need to create, again, early childhood education. That will solve many problems. We need to bring those people back and create a future for our county because we are creating a path for the next generation, which is education. We need to do those things together. It's affecting all of us. And look at the crime every night. One night I was watching TV. There were 7 shootings at the same time in the whole county. The police were struggling. I'll tell you what, I was endorsed by the FOP. One of the matter is, yes, we need to make sure that we see them on the table too with our communities. And one more thing, I have attended many of the funerals of those kids. You know why? Because regardless of the situation, there's a family suffering. Regardless of the situation, there's a community suffering. And they come together and they want to looking for an answer. How do we do this? And it happens time and time again. If we have such a great times with the money and all this stuff, why do we keep having the same problems? These problems are exponentially
You may finish your sentence.
This explanation happening every day. And they are asking me, texting me, because I told them to do it, good luck.
Thank you.
Please help us.
Thank you. Same question. What are your ideas about mass transit for Franklin County and how would you fund these?
Thank you for the question. I noticed that my opponent did not answer the question about mass transit for Franklin County. So we have an organization that has put together a plan called Link Us that looks at all of the corridors, like 5 to 8 corridors across the county, and being able to make sure that the people who are most marginalized, who don't have access to transit, would with a BRT, bus rapid transit. One of the ways that we also could fund that would take city and county, but federal investment through the bipartisan infrastructure law bill, which will have money come down, not just for roads and bridges, but also to be able to help fund transit and mobility options to get people to and from their work and the doctors and the school. My opponent mentioned the new jail that he hasn't visited. Anybody can visit. It is open to the public for tours. It is a state-of-the-art facility. If you have to be responsible for a jail, like we are responsible per the Ohio Revised Code, then this would be the jail that I would like to see come online. We do free tours, so anyone is welcome to come and see, because we want community buy-in. It is a new way of supporting our residents that are in our facilities by direct supervision. So now everyone will be in pods. It will be one guard, and people are able to move about the pod. The way that it was built was with natural lighting in mind, murals, and then with programming, social services, because we don't want the same people coming back through our doors. We want to make sure that they have access to jobs, pre-apprenticeship training programs, GED, all of those activities and educational offerings will be offered in the jail. And then as they transition, we have our Rapid Resource Center, where there is a soft handoff to community-based organizations. So there is no lapse in training. So they can get jobs straight into the middle class. The average wage of our jobs that are in our workforce development programs are $22 an hour. But anyone is able to visit the JAC, is the James A. Carnes Correctional Center.
Thank you. And you get the first shot at the next question. What would you do to address health care access in Franklin County?
Great question. So as I have many people know, I was in the legislature before I became a county commissioner, and one of the things that I worked on and continue to work on is access to doulas through Medicaid reimbursement for doulas. So not only did I advocate as ranking member on finance when I was in the legislature, expanding postpartum care for women from 60 days to 12 months, I continue to advocate for House Bill 142, which will provide Medicaid reimbursement for doulas. We know that in this state, more than 57% of the pregnancy-related deaths were deemed to be preventable. The majority of the people who were dying, 34% of the women who were dying made up only 17% of the births, and they were Black women. So providing access to doulas and midwives, we know, is not just also life-saving, but it is cost-saving for the state, because you have less complications, you have less the need for pain medication, and it limits the number of days that people will spend in the hospital. But also the county has invested, and we continue to invest in mental health services. We have Credible Minds platform, which everyone has access to. If you go to our website, where you can have an assessment and get connected to resources, it's confidential. But we also have the One Ohio board. So my opponent talked about mental health and investing in that and substance use. That is why we have the One Ohio board, our regional board, and we have someone that serves on the state board to make sure that the dollars that come from those settlements, one, that people who sit on the board are people who have lived experience, whether they suffered from addiction issues themselves or lost a loved one to overdose, to an overdose death. But we also have practitioners, we have social workers, and then we have people who just work in the field. We continue to invest millions of dollars in mental health because mental health is just as important as your physical health. And so that is what we continue to do at the county. But we also have made sure that there's access to home visiting. We supported Celebrate One to the tune of $5 million, and we will continue to have those investments. Thank you.
Same question for you. What would you do to address health care access in Franklin County?
I just wanted to mention that my opponent described this new jail like, I thought it was a hotel she was describing. So anyways, One of the things that we need to do with the health, I have attended several meetings. I have been to the African American Wellness Male Association. One of the things that they do and increase, and I spoke one of the doctors, from last year, the fentanyl overdose increased in African American 250%, quote unquote. So all this money that's happening is not working. Look at what's happening, the crime is happening because the overdose. African Americans have died in a rate of 250% according to the doctor. Franklin County doctor. I went to her meeting, I attended it, and we spoke privately. And I asked her, can you come to the Latino community? Because Latino communities are having the same issues. So we need to help the situation and retool. And maybe perhaps we can go, perhaps get one of those performance audit and find some money and retool some of those programs that she's talking about it, because it's not working. Daily, she tells me. We having problems daily. Now they approve, I believe that they approve some, for the fentanyl overdose that perhaps you can find to be able to stimulate somebody that's overdosed. And they're gonna put some kind of, drugs in some places, in bathrooms and stuff like that, so that perhaps somebody can help them. Okay, what a great idea. But at the same time, it's not working. We need to accelerate the programs. We need to help those people that, that perhaps needed it desperately. They tell me desperately need help. And I've been attending those meetings. And I tell you what, it's sad the information they have and the statistics, because the community is suffering one way or the other. I am willing to perhaps sit them at the table and perhaps we come up with better answers.
Thank you. And Mr. Gill, you get the first shot at our last question. What will you do to increase job opportunities in Franklin County?
Well, again, we have a company that's coming. They need, according to the Columbus One, which is one of the ones that created a path many years ago for the Intel to be prepared for Intel coming. They need, especially kids in elementary school, to start studying some kind of science in high school, so perhaps they can create a path. They got programs that if the kids will pass that program and complete in 1 year, they have a direct path into Intel, earning $70,000 starting. South of 70, Southfield community, they don't have an idea. But I did create it with several pastors, several leaders, and we're going to have a program next year and bring those kids, and I'm bringing the Columbus One to help us and give us the information necessary for those kids to create a path. It's not easy information to find it south of Columbus. But guess what? North of Columbus, they created those paths already. What the leaders right now, county commissioner, are doing with that? Again, collecting rent, $10 a year. Those are the stuff I talk to the community when this come out, and perhaps they decided, they said, you know what, enough is enough. We need to make sure that our money is guarded. We need to have better programs for the kids to avoid all the information that we perhaps are receiving. And you know what? Again, I walk in all the communities. Currently, I just want to tell you where my heart is. I'm a coach of soccer. With kids, 10, 11 years old, and the fact that they have disability, physical disabilities. Well, guess what? 3 years ago, we started the program. My team is #1 as we speak today, because I want to help those little guys to make sure that they have a future in our community.
Thank you. Commissioner Crawley, same question. What will you do to increase job opportunities in Franklin County?
Thank you so much for the question. And I just want to say I didn't hear exactly what job opportunities my opponent would be creating, but what we've done at the county, we have 6 workforce development programs, 3 that were created just at the end of last year and the beginning of this year. So we have Building Futures, Driving Futures, Rose to Work, Women at Work, Tech Women of Color, and County Futures. So just in Tech Women of Color, $4.5 million investment for 200 women of color to get training, and then work with, we have a business roundtable, so when the women leave our 15-week program, they are able to go right into a job that pays at least $50,000 a year. County Futures is a workforce development program that you can get hired by the county, you get those soft skills, and then you work for the county, whether it's in our fleet department, our public facilities and management department. And then you have Women at Work. Women at Work was a $2.5 million investment for 100 women who were displaced during the pandemic so they can have access to jobs, whether they needed to be reskilled or upskilled, needed mentorship, or just needed resume writing. All the things that they need, and barrier removal services. So if you needed rent and utility assistance, transportation, childcare, you get all of that. All of our workforce development programs and pre-apprenticeship programs have those things available, and then they also pay a stipend of $250 a week, so $1,000 a month. But let's talk about the youth. Just today, we have invested $11 million in school for youth programming and out of school for youth programming. If you pay attention to our general sessions on Tuesday where we vote, and then Thursdays we're briefed on what we're going to vote on next Tuesday. Just today on our briefing agenda, $10 million for youth. But we invest in TechCore. TechCore is a youth program that provides them access to STEM jobs and technology starting at 5th grade, and we just expanded that. And so they have...
Please finish your sentence.
In TechCore, the children are able to get paid. They also are able to get internships, and then when they graduate, they are placed with a business right here in Franklin County.
Thank you. And you get the first shot at the closing remarks for 1 minute with your closing remarks.
Thank you. Thank you again for inviting me here today to talk about all the work that I've been able to do with my colleagues just in the 15 months that I've been your Franklin County Commissioner. As I said, I am a mother, I'm a veteran, and I'm an advocate. I'm a mother of twin girls who are 18, and so I had them early. The struggles that my neighbors deal with, I say I deal with. So I am my neighbors are me. And so that's why I got into politics in the first place, to advocate for those who have the same background that I do, and to make sure that everyone has the same opportunity to thrive and not just survive. I am an advocate for veterans. I served in the Navy. I come from a family of veterans. My brother and my father both served in the military. So all things veterans, whether it's jobs, access to housing, or access to mental health services, matter to me. And then I'm just an advocate for those in their community, especially for women and children, so that they can see Franklin County as a place where they can live, work, and play. And then I support our small businesses, because we know our small businesses is the engine to our economic success here in Franklin County. Thank you again for having me.
Thank you. And 1 minute for your
Well,
closing
thank you so
remarks.
much. And I understand, she have access to all the information. She have, that's what she does daily. I have my own business to run. And apparently, I have time to go to those communities and sit with them face to face and asking me, Mr. Gill, we need you in there. We're tired of this. Enough is enough. She's mentioning the scholarships, like 750 scholarships. How many, Franklin County has almost 1 million people. 750, 200 women? Come on. We're better than that. $2.2 billion, and we have still the same problems that we have 10, 15 years ago. No one party had all the solutions and all the ideas. We need to make sure that we create balance, and we create facts that we can check, because it's not working. When the doctor in the community tells me 250% African Americans suffering for overdose, come on, we need to look at it better with a microscope. What can we do to our community for the future generation of this county?
Thank you. Thank you to both of our candidates. For Franklin County Commissioner, Commissioner Erica Crawley and Mr. Luis Gill. Thank you both very much. Next up, we have our candidates for the Ohio House District 3. Joshua Lanning and
Thank you so much. I appreciate
thank
it.
you.
Thank you.
And Ishmael Mohammed. Would you please come up? Oh dear. According to our rules, we have to have both candidates here in order to have a forum discussion. So, Mr. Mohammed, are you in the audience? Mr. Ishmael Mohammed. I'm I'm so sorry. I'm so sorry, Joshua Lanning,
Josiah.
pardon?
Josiah.
Josiah, sorry. Double sorry, Josiah Lanning, so sorry.
No problem.
But
I
our-
think that speaks for itself.
All right, so thank you to all of our candidates for tonight. We appreciate your coming very much, and thank you to our audience. This recording will be viewable on the League of Women Voters of Metropolitan Columbus Facebook page. We urge you all again to make a voting plan now. As you know, early voting started yesterday, and Election Day is November 8th. It's coming up very rapidly. Please check your voter guide or go to vote411.org for a full list of candidates. Again, thank you to all of our candidates and to our live and to our online audience, and also to our nonpartisan staff and volunteers who helped provide tonight's forum. Thank you all, and everyone have a good night.
I just want to say that there's some information over there